So we've taken a look at how to customize our application's UI using application display templates. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the more powerful ways we are able to modify the front end of Liferay using some of our cool nifty tools. So let's take a look at how do we customize our application's JSPs as well as some other JSPs. So when do we need to customize our JSPs specifically? The first use case or the first situation that calls for this is if our application that we're trying to customize does not support ADTs. So that's first. Second one is maybe we need to really modify the JSP, right? Maybe we want a lot more customization than what an ADT offers, right? This would warrant a JSP override as well. And then customization of something other than just a default view.jsp, right? Maybe we're customizing an edit menu. Maybe we're customizing a completely different JSP than just the view.jsp. Then we would need to, well, customize that JSP through one of the different methodologies that we're about to look at. So when we're customizing JSPs, there are 4 different ways in which we can do this: dynamic includes, custom JSP bags, fragment modules, and finally portlet filters. So we'll talk about each one of these and we'll take a look at a couple of different examples or exercises as well. So let's first start off talking about dynamic includes. So dynamic includes, what this allows us to do is inject some of our code, some of our text, some of our modifications into these, what I'll call injection points. The injection points are denoted by the dynamic include tag. And these tags inherit from the class include tag. So some of these places, or some places where dynamic includes are supported, is within our editors, within the login portlet or login application, as well as the asset publisher. Now let's take a look at how we're able to use these dynamic includes. So let's say we have the blogs portlet and we're looking at the view entry.jsp. Within that JSP, you'll notice the dynamic include tag followed by a specific key. So we have a key for pre and a key for post. And we're able to inject our code, inject our customization within either one of those tags. And the way we do so is through a component. So what we'll first do is create a component that implements dynamic include. And from there, we need to determine, are we injecting in the pre or the post? Whichever one we are, we need to include that within the register method as we see towards the bottom. So in this example, we're going to be injecting some of our customization in the pre tag. What we're going to be injecting is defined within the include method. Now, this example is very simple. So all we're doing is including within the pre tag this added by blogs dynamic include, and then it'll be injected in the pre tag, and that's what will be shown is that specific text. So once all of that is coded, deployed, our example will look a little something like this. Over in the view entry.jsp, we'll see that header included. So the next methodology is known as custom JSP bags. Now, custom JSP bags are technically deprecated as of Liferay DXP 7.0. It's still a very powerful way of customizing JSPs, so we'll talk a little bit about it. So we use the custom JSP bag to be able to override core JSPs. So these are the JSPs that are not inside of a Liferay module or an OSGI bundle, but rather in the core of Liferay. So we won't talk too much into details of that. We'll move on to our next type of JSP override with fragment modules or fragment bundles. So a fragment module is an OSGI fragment. So when we think about a fragment, what it basically is a special type of bundle or special type of module that allows us to override JSPs in another bundle or in another module. Okay, so whatever JSP we want to override in another OSGI bundle, we have the ability to do so using these things called fragments. Now, as a warning, fragments here are not the same thing as fragments when we're talking about something like modern site building. So OSGI fragment in this situation. And one of the downsides of using a fragment is that it's very tightly coupled with the module's version number. So as a OSGI bundle or OSGI module is being upgraded or the version number is incrementing, there's a pretty high chance that the fragment is going to break along the way, and then we'll need to update which version number it works with. So that's one of the downsides. And on top of that, we won't know until runtime whether or not the fragment is actually working. But let's go ahead and we'll discuss a little bit about how we can create a fragment. So when we're creating a fragment using Liferay Developer Studio, we actually have a wizard that helps us create the fragment. So by using the wizard, it's actually really straightforward. All we do is basically say, hey, Liferay wizard, the module that I want to override is this. And then once you select the module, it'll then give you a list of JSPs that you can override, and then you just pick it. Otherwise, if you're not using the wizard, what you have to do is create a Liferay module project using one of the templates that we have by default. You need to then find the specific module you want to override, and then you're going to include that within the bnd.bnd file as a host bundle. And then from there, you're going to find a copy of the JSP that you want to override. You can copy and paste and then make your modifications, whatever that might look like. So let's take a look at a really quick example of overriding the viewEntry.jsp. So first, we're going to use the wizard, make our lives a little bit easier. So using the Liferay module project fragment, we then select which specific OSGI bundle do we want to target, and then which JSP do we want to override. So that's step one. Step number two is overriding the JSP. We have complete control over how this looks, so we can do whatever it is that we want to do. Step number three is just deploy and test. Deploy your fragment bundle and watch it work, or maybe it doesn't. So let's take a look at what the bnd file looks like. The specific line we want to emphasize here is that fragment host. So the fragment host header is basically saying which OSGI bundle are we targeting, or which OSGI bundle do we want to override a JSP within. So we specify the name and the version number of that specific bundle.